Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and do you realize that despite the price action we've been seeing with XRP over the last couple of days, do you know that there are a ton of people out there that are still buying XRP, and some of them in rather huge quantities? I've got a story of one particular XRP community member who made a massive purchase very recently, and I'm going to share with you the specifics, because it's just, man. Some people, they're just on board with me conceptually of where this is all going. I'm just saying. And so I'm not going to divulge the individual, but I do want to share with you the story on it. So I've got that. And what got me thinking about this is there's this article from Daily Hodl today about a crypto whale who, quote, stuns traders with massive bet on Bitcoin. So I want to share that one with you, too. I'm also going to share with you an update from XRPL Labs, Wietse Wind. Has an update on the XRP-based banking app that they've been working on. They got a couple comments from XRP community members I want to share with you, and then I'll wrap up the video with something unrelated that I just found fascinating. It's titled, Bitcoin Solves This. Hong Kong police freeze $9 million of protesters' funds. But before we go any further, if you would please ever so delicately tap that like button, but don't get all smashy with it. If you break it, you buy it. That's the tough love policy of the Moon Lambo channel. And consider subscribing to the Moon Lambo channel so that your life may then be complete. All right, let's dig in now. From a big gamble on Bitcoin to new progress on an XRP-based banking app, here's a look at some of the stories breaking in the world of crypto. Crypto traders are tracking a massive bet on Bitcoin from one of the biggest crypto whales on BitMEX. The trader, who goes by the name Joe 007, I guess is how he wants us to say it, has built a massive long on Bitcoin. With the market in deep red on Wednesday, the trader remained undeterred, adding 4,000 Bitcoin to his position. Pocket change, right? As the leading crypto approached a low of about 6,545, his position on paper was underwater by nearly $25 million. Ooh. Despite the heavy losses, the trader's position was not liquidated, indicating he has enough cash in the account to keep it from closing out. And just a day later, the whale's losses have dropped to about $11 million, with the price of Bitcoin back above $7,000. And of course, when you purchase that much Bitcoin, and with how volatile it is, those numbers, of course, 25 million, 11 million, it sounds staggering, and it is. Presumably, this is pocket change for this individual, or else why you'd have to be insane, if you put everything literally into it. Maybe he's insane, I don't know, but it's to be expected, I would say. But what I wanted to point out here, there's a few things really, but it's just the whole concept of, perhaps it's wise to buy when there's blood in the streets, right, so to speak. And not financial advice. I'm not offering any financial advice whatsoever. I don't have a financial background. But conceptually, historically, not just with this asset class, but true with stocks also, typically when things are looking the worst, that's when it's the best to buy. And when things are looking rosy, people get greedy. And that's a sign that perhaps things are about to go the other way to the negative. Maybe not the best way to best time to buy. And that's why it's fun for me to track the Fear and Greed Index, which I pulled up in a video just the other day. It's fun to track that. When people are feeling greedy, maybe not necessarily a good buying time. Just sharing with you. Fellow crypto traders are seeing the whale's gamble as a sign that Bitcoin bulls can wrestle momentum from the bears. It certainly appears there's a method to the madness. So far this month, the trader has more than $14 million in realized profits right here. And then there's a little tweet indicating as much right there, which is rather substantial, of course. And so, what I saw, and the story I'm going to share with you, it's nowhere near that level in terms of investment, but I was scrolling through my Twitter feed, and I won't mention the individual because to me personally, I don't think it's really the best idea necessarily to talk about how much XRP you hold, because it could potentially make you a target. And so that's the reason I'm not going to cite the individual's name, but I came across it. It certainly caught my attention. So this individual in the XRP community shared a screen grab of the XRP that they had just purchased, and it was, I guess it was 2 days ago then, when XRP at the time was down to 18.3 cents, if memory serves. And this individual spent $10,000 purchasing XRP, and again, shared the screen grab, and it came out to something like, I'll round it, about 53,000 XRP. 53,000. So that's a lot more than most people have. That amount, that almost puts you in the top 1% of holders, which, again, I'm going from memory here, but I think last time I looked, to be in the top 1% of holders, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 68,000 XRPs, which you need, and perhaps this individual has more than that prior to this purchase anyway, so perhaps it is there. So again, I don't advise, putting that type of information out there, but I found it genuinely fascinating. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is a person that's just like, and then he said something bullish too. He's like, several years from now, I'm going to use this to buy my Lambo. Like, okay. Which I like the attitude. It's a positive attitude, but it's just, to me, it always comes down to utility. And this is not the only individual doing this. That's the biggest in my quantity I saw purchased as a screen grab in my Twitter feed since the downward price action. But I've seen endless people just talking about how they're really taking advantage of the what they see as a buying opportunity. And of course, again, some people are just scared and don't want to jump in. I don't blame you for that either. Wherever you are on the spectrum of that, I certainly don't blame you. I mean, if you got skin in the game, like I understand it's quite personal. That's why I don't want to be responsible for anyone's finances. That's why I don't tell you to buy or sell. I'm just sharing with you opinions and things that I come across that I think are fascinating. But I will say this: there's a lot of people with a long-term mindset that are buying XRP at these levels. It's not going away. And even MoneyGram CEO Alex Holmes, in a recent CNN interview with Julia Chatterley, talked about how they're looking forward to seeing how everything develops with on-demand liquidity utilizing XRP over the next 5 to 10 years. Guys, it's not going away. That's my firm stance, and I think it's going to be worth a lot more in the future. But check this out now. Switching gears here. Ripple and XRP. The CEO of Ripple-backed XRPL Labs says the company is making progress on its XRP-based banking app. Weitze Wen says some, which is spelled XUMM because Weitze doesn't want you to know how to say it, is designed to give people a way to save and spend euros, dollars, XRP, and other currencies without any help from a financial institution. And here's a tweet from him. From earlier this morning. Some workflow. Number 1, app sends a payload to the API, server to server. 2, user gets redirected to some payload page. 3, user scans payload QR. 4, user reviews and signs the transaction. 5, payload page redirects to success page, and app number 1 receives webhook with status and TX hash, etc., which starts to get a little bit too tech nerdy sounding for me because I just am not familiar with that stuff, but I still wanted to share it with you. Now, Wind recently revealed he's planning to create a company that can ensure apps like some are regulatory compliant across Europe, and I have spoken about that in the past. So it's good to get an update about that. I haven't had anything new to report on some in some time, so it's good to talk a little bit about that. Next, here's a tweet from Franz Vanderhorst, who tagged me along with some others in the XRP community and wrote this: for those doubting their XRP investment, for the potential of XRP, think of the following. Swift does multiple billion-dollar payments each day. Think of the following scenario. And I certainly a valid point. There's a real problem to be solved here, and that type of demand for cross-border payments, we'll see to what degree that will affect the price of XRP as adoption of on-demand liquidity continues to increase over time. I think it'll be substantial. And that's not the only thing that's going to drive price. There's other developers. There's the fact that if individuals like us know that business entities need XRP to conduct these types of business models, which business models are not going away, that can instill confidence long-term in individuals like myself. That's one of the reasons I'm happy to invest. Just instill confidence that XRP is going to be here because it's getting used. And I think that's going to be huge, especially as we talk about institutional money continuing to flow in over time. Next, here's a tweet from Paul, and I got a kick out of this one. So Paul tagged me and wrote this. Actually, I should explain the picture here. You don't have to look at your screen if you're not, but there's a lunar deed, and so we're talking about moon estates, buying land on the moon, and so there's a deed there, and I don't know if it's actually a real one or not. It looks pretty legit here. So there's a lunar deed here, and here's what Paul had to write after tagging me. If XRP ever hits 1,000 pounds per coin, I'm going to be able to afford all kinds of crazy dumb stuff. I like that. Yeah, like we could catapult some cars together, right? That would be fun. Let's catapult some Ferraris across a field. Let's do that. Anyway, he continues, I think I'll start by buying so many parts of the moon that I'll be able to use it as my very own parking lot, where I'll obviously park all my Lambos. Okay, I got a kick out of that. Shout out to you, Paul, and thank you for tagging me. That's good. I hope you get lots of moon space up there. All right, last, Bitcoin solves this. Hong Kong police freeze $9 million of protesters' funds. Just an unrelated article I found fascinating. Lacking any central authority for either issuance or custody, Bitcoin has often been described as resistant to confiscation. Recent news out of Hong Kong highlights the importance of such qualities, particularly in an increasingly divided world. Authorities in the Chinese Special Administrative Region have frozen almost $9 million of donations received by protesters in Hong Kong. Cutting off financial aid in such a way is one of global authorities' most effective ways to silence resistance. However, in a post-Bitcoin world, such coercive acts look set to decline in efficacy. Yeah, if we get to the point in time where there's that kind of adoption, I would hope so. Well, look, I think that, I will say this. I know I'm highly confident crypto is here to stay. I'm more sure of that than I am about XRP even. And I am highly confident in XRP. I am Mr. XRP Bull. But I'm even more confident crypto is here to stay, and the ramifications worldwide yet to be seen, but some of them we can speculate on, I think, and this would be one of them. This actually is fair. Now, whether or not Bitcoin would be the mechanism through which something like this can be prevented, maybe. We'll see if Bitcoin has staying power, but you could also do that with XRP, which, there's no central authority as it pertains to XRP, but the question, of course, is, what are you going to do with XRP? If you can't spend it anywhere, or if it's Bitcoin, if you can't spend it anywhere, and effectively you can't, what are you going to do even if it wasn't frozen? That's the thing, because you can't convert it into local currencies the world over if there's going to be KYC and AML checks anyway. So good luck there. But I still found that, to me, it's fun to think through. That's why I wanted to cover this. But according to a report in the South China Morning Post, Hong Kong police have just frozen, in what is US dollars, $9 million from protesters. The news comes after 4 activists were arrested supposedly for money laundering. The frozen money belonged to the Spark Alliance, a group that provides aid to those arrested or injured as part of the ongoing protest movement in the region. Spark Alliance was initially set up following the 2016 Mong Kok riot. It has spent the last 6 months fundraising for the ongoing civil unrest movement in Hong Kong, receiving more than US $9 million in total. The Hong Kong authorities claim that activists have been using the money to finance various illegal activities and for personal gain, as well as receipts for various items to help protesters, like gas masks, laser points, and helmets. The police officers claim to have found evidence of individuals taking out expensive personal insurance for themselves. The Spark Alliance confirmed that they have indeed had funds frozen. However, they refuted the officials' claims that they were using the money in a way not originally intended. So, there you go. Just something to think about. But that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!